Hi, welcome to NDE TV. I'm Peggy Robinson. Today's guest is Amber Celestial Angel, and she's going to tell us about her near-death experience. Hi, Amber.
Hi.
So I'm just going to let you tell us your story and take as long as you like.
All right. Yes. So in 2016, I had my near-death experience. Um, I was pregnant with my third son, and I knew something wasn't quite right during the pregnancy, but um, the medical staff didn't really seem to think much of it. They just said it's normal, it's normal. Everything felt off. I knew something, but I mean, I couldn't do much except just my intuition knew there was something off, but I just brushed it off as well. Like, okay, maybe there isn't anything wrong if they can't find anything. Well, I ended up being diagnosed with postpartum preeclampsia. So it was after my son was born that um, they diagnosed me with that. So I was taking a nap one day. It was about 3 or 4 days after I had my son. And I felt just really tired, but I thought it was normal, just having a baby. I thought it was normal, but it also wasn't like me to take naps. So, so I ended up taking a pretty long nap that day. It was a couple hours, and my fiance at the time ended up coming in and waking me up. And looking back, I remember at some point as I was napping that I just felt this overwhelming peace. And a thought crossed my mind. I thought, if I just died here, I would feel so at peace. And, looking back, that's kind of weird that I had that thought and this feeling, but at the time, I didn't think much of it. So, anyway, he woke me up and I didn't want to wake up. I was so tired. I just wanted to lay there. And he ended up saying, no, you probably need to get up. And I thought, yeah, I probably do. I'd been sleeping long already. And not long later, I ended up having this excruciating headache. My head was so bad and I got pretty dizzy. And then I could not open my eyes. At one point, the light, just a little bit of light, was too bright. I had to close my eyes and couldn't see. So he ended up taking me to the hospital. They checked me in and my blood pressure was like 180 something over 130 something and said, you've got postpartum preeclampsia. We've got to take you up now. Get everything started before you have a stroke or a seizure. And so they wheeled me up, took me up there. And I remember thinking, like, even though all this it seemed kind of chaotic, like everyone's rushing around, I felt just kind of at peace. I still just felt this peaceful feeling. So they started putting the medication to go straight bloodstream, and then their equipment broke. So they started having to do manual blood pressure, and it was still high. It wasn't going down, and they were getting more worried. So then this doctor comes in, and I always remember this part. He like throws on this attire and he's like, we have to get you under the treatment right now, this treatment, and we need to do it now before you go into stroke, seizure. And usually I'm not one for medication or anything. I like to be more on the natural side of that. But this time I felt and heard this guidance like, it's okay, just listen. So I did. And I just also just felt so blah, like, okay, whatever at this point. So he They wheeled me down. I don't know if they had the treatment in at this point. I think they did. And then they wheel me down. And on my way down, I want to say, going in and out. I was seeing, um, seeing just weird shapes and weird things. And I was looking at people just kind of oddly, like I didn't know if I recognized them or not. It was weird. But then I also was back, like, okay, I know where I am. So I was kind of going in and out at this point. And then we get to a dark room. It was just, there was no windows. And I remember this. I thought, ooh, weird. A dark room. And they just say, okay, we've just got to let the treatment play out and see what happens. So at some point, they told my fiance at the time that he could go home and be with our kids. We had two other kids and then the newborn, so three kids, and told him to go home and be with the kids. And I agreed. Yeah, I'd be fine by myself, and I probably needed to rest. So at that point, he left, and sometime I just ended up going completely out. So should I dive right into that?
Would you say you completely gasped? What?
Completely out at that point.
Okay, go ahead. Yeah.
Okay, so I ended up coming out of my body, and I was, just kind of observing and looking out, and I see in the corner of the room his some of his family members who were passed away, and also these light beings, this these light balls or energies. And now I realize they're angels. I um associate them as angels. So I'm just looking at them trying to, like, huh. And then the angels ended up coming with me and started taking me down this, what I like to describe as like a wormhole, is what it reminded me of. Um, like a tunnel, I guess. And Divine Mother was there, and I just felt so warm in all this presence. It was so warm and loving and peaceful. And most of all, like during this whole experience, was feeling, like a lot of feeling, not much thought here and there, guided. And so Divine Mother, Mother Mary, which I didn't really know much about because I'm not religious. I didn't really know much about angels before my experience. Was not familiar with them. So this was different for me, but I just felt and knew like what they were. Um, and so they're guiding me in this tunnel, and off to a side, I guess you could say, I see kind of this darkness. It was like dark shape, dark shadows. And I was like observing, and I just said, well, I'm not going there. And so then we keep going, but everything's kind of simultaneous, I think, but in increments. I don't know how to describe it, but then there's this like beauty. There's all these beautiful, vibrant colors and shapes. And one thing I did recognize was butterflies, and they were just, the colors were so magnificent and vibrant. And like, I just, when I look back, I think anything I see on earth here, I don't, it's not comparable. Um, so at one point I said, okay, I don't think I'm ready to die yet. I would like to see my kids grow up. I've got kids. I'd like to be here Whereas at first I was feeling just peaceful and like kind of whatever kids. I want to be here and I want to see them grow up. And so then at that point they started showing me my children in the future, like at birthday parties and just when they were older. And I thought I just kind of laughed in there and I was appreciating it all. And then after that I said, well, I guess if that's all I get, then I'm grateful for that. I would like to actually live on Earth with them, but be grateful for that. I really feel like in that moment I got this deep um, feeling of gratitude, and it just made me feel grateful. So, or when I discuss my story, I forget this part, but at one point I heard the song Humble and Kind by Tim McGraw.
Huh.
It's kind of weird, but I heard it and it was just like playing almost in a distance. And then the odd thing is later on, when I was telling my ex-fiance at the time about what happened, and it's like I gather pieces, as it goes along, I remember more and more. But he said that's strange because earlier, well, I guess it wasn't earlier, but he said he thinks at the same time possibly that I heard that. He said he was in the car and he heard that song, but it didn't sound like it was on the radio. So he turned the radio down and thought it was maybe in another car, but there were no cars around that were playing it. So that's kind of a
That's
um
cool.
strange little happening there.
It's like a
Um
confirmation.
yeah, yeah.
It's beautiful.
So all right, then I went through all that. Okay, so then comes the heaven, which I call the heaven, the unconditional love. I ended up in just this unconditional love. So throughout that time, I didn't really feel much. I mean, I felt just that peace and being guided. But in this place of the unconditional love, I mean, I had no form. Like I wasn't a body. I was just this love. And I was like engulfed in this white light, or golden, or just light and all around me. And I was it. I was the light, that unconditional love. And that's where I just felt all of it. I've just felt this, whatever entails unconditional love, peace, harmony, balance, like everything all at once in love. And I just was. I just was that. At some point, then I came back to, and I was back in my body, but also kind of in between at this point. So they showed me the angels. So it's like they were with me at this point in my body and outside. And they were showing me my brain and I could see this bleeding in my brain. And they were telling me and showing me how to heal it. So they were guiding me outside myself on what to do to heal the brain, but also like in my body, like having me do physical things to my head to heal it. And eventually I came back uh into this 3D reality, and I ended up getting through the treatment. I was there a couple days, I think 2 or 3 days. I still had a lot of issues after that and had some scares after that where my blood pressure would go up again, and um that was a couple months process to deal with. I couldn't walk for a while. I was in a wheelchair a month probably, um, and couldn't walk very well, and just really then also started looking into natural ways to get my blood pressure down and be, I was, let's see, 30 at the time, 29, 30, and I'm like, I don't want to be on pressure medication. And some people do end up having to take it the rest of their life who have had postpartum preeclampsia. But I did some research, and within a couple months, um, I ended up being off medication. But it was a quite a wild up and down experience for a while there to get my body healthy.
Now, you would refer to they. Who was they when you say they told me or they showed me? Was it these white orbs?
Yeah, the angels. Definitely,
Okay.
yeah. I understand them now as being angels. After all that happened, I went searching. And I also knew they had a message, the angels. Um, I was very in tune at that point. I was getting messages, which I had anyway before. Since I was a child, I'd get dreams and visions, but I didn't really, it kind of scared me. So, but after this experience, um, it really opened me up, and I had to go searching, like, what is this? What did I experience? And I was real wanting to find out, and also on a mission to live my purpose, which they, as they did that healing with me, it's like it was just a known thing. So I came out kind of knowing what to do, but also how. I had these questions of how, what do I do? And that's still a journey even today. I mean, I know, but I still am always learning more still.
When you were saying they were telling you how to heal this bleeding, was it like you were touching your face? Is that what they were saying? Like to rub your forehead or?
Well, it was a mix of things. So, I mean, it was both, yes, on my physical body, but it was more than that. It's also on an energetic level. Um, what I would explain it now, an energetic level, etheric. Um, so there's more to it than just this physical touch. It's kind of a combination of physical touching and outside the self, and using this energy source to heal as well.
Okay. So you weren't religious before. What are you now? Has this changed your views on anything?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I'm still not a religion, but I believe in angels, Yeshua, the story. I just follow different teachers, who are wise, loving. Um, but yes, angels I definitely believe in. Um, I was Christian as a child. Well, early, maybe preteen years, I was Christian, and but still didn't know much about angels, or Mother Mary. She was very briefly mentioned from what Christianity I was taught. But um, after that, I was actually in a place where I didn't really believe in anything. I wouldn't say I was atheist per se. I thought maybe there's something out there, but I just didn't know. And I just also didn't care to know. And in a way, for a while, I did have that, like, because of my childhood and what had happened. I thought, is there even a God? Does God even love me? Like, I don't think so. So I had that phase of where I was maybe angry with God. I just didn't understand it. But um, then I came to a place where I just was like, I don't know. I don't know anything. I don't really want to know. And that my experience really changed all that. I definitely believe in God. Know there's God. God is love all around. And of course, angels are heavenly guides. So,
What
yeah.
did Mary Mother look like? Mother Mary, what do you call her?
Um, yeah, now I just Mother Mary, but Divine Mother. I just she was just a really bright light. So like the angels were really, really bright. All of them are bright and they carry like a frequency. They carry um that's the only way I can describe it, like a frequency, a vibration. And hers was just really brighter. So and warmer. Not that they weren't, but it's like it was just a higher, little bit of a higher level. And I do like to, something I heard about her was Queen of Angels, Mary, Queen of Angels, and I really like that.
Oh, that's
It
pretty.
resonates.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
How did you come to use the name Celestial Angel with your name? I'm curious.
Yeah. Oh, that was funny. Well, when I started coming out of who I am, I went through mentorship, I went through just trying to figure things out, teachers, finding people to teach me, help me with what I went through. And probably within the year of my near-death experience, I um I was thinking, what name do I want to use for what I'm gonna do? And I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure. And all of a sudden one day I opened my journal and this journal was from probably a year prior to that happening. And I open it in the front and it says, this journal belongs to, and it said Amber Celestial Angel. And I thought, huh, I don't remember writing that, but it sounds fitting. It sounds right. So that's how, I mean, then I went with that and thought, well, there's a reason. Obviously, I'm sitting here asking for a name, and then I happened to open that journal and it said it.
Now, you weren't doing something like this with this angel idea. I don't know how to word it. I'm sorry. Like you actually turned this into a job, right?
Yeah, yes, I did. I do readings, healing sessions, and just with the angels as the guide, a messenger, and just channeling messages to groups or people on my YouTube. And yeah, so I use their vibration frequency guidance in all of what I do.
So you're like a medium to angels instead of
Yeah,
like medium to someone that's passed away. You are to angels and like to give advice to people to what their angels are saying.
yep, yep. And I can connect with past loved ones as well, but that's usually comes in through like as I'm doing a session or something with somebody, they'll mention that or they come through that angelic presence. So it's like the angels may say, Grandma's here or somebody's here. Um, and I know doing this work or job, um, you have to be aware of what is coming through. That's something I had to learn. Um, aware of what is, yeah, wanting to come through and give a message.
What did your fiance's family that's deceased you saw during your NDE? Did they look like a physical form or what did they
Yeah,
look like?
yep,
Okay.
yeah. They look like a physical form. And I recognized two of them, but another one I had never seen before, but I described him to my fiance at the time. And then I ended up seeing a picture of him, I think at a family reunion, and saying, I saw, that's who I saw. So that was real interesting.
That's interesting hearing that Tim McGraw's song because yeah, I've heard that song so many times, but I hadn't heard it in a long time. And the other day, it just come into my mind so clear out of the blue, and I was just kind of in awe. I'm like, wow, I didn't realize what a special song that is. You know, giving this advice to your children of how they want you to live, and you could almost imagine like say someone was dying and they're telling this to their children, like on their deathbed. I just want you to be humble and kind. I want you to be like this, and that is like, wow, this is really, really a deep song.
Yes, I agree. Definitely after I experienced that, I really listened to the words in that song and I love to play it with my kids and it's a good song, yes.
And it's interesting too because you were wanting to come back and see your children, and I think it's cool that you saw the birthday parties and things in the future because I saw one glimpse of my kids, my three boys in the future in my NDE. And so that's very rare that I get to hear anybody else say that they saw something of a future event. And that's hard, you know, like what when you come back and you have this memory, did you start telling people right away or did you wrestle with like what was that? Did you put it away? What'd you do?
I didn't tell people right away. I mentioned to my fiance at the time something weird, really weird happened. But I'd been going through some weird things anyway with my pre-pregnancy right before that. So I didn't tell him at first, and I thought, well, weird stuff's happening anyway, so I can tell him. So um I did end up telling him, but right away I didn't recall all of what happened. It's like it was kind of blurry, fuzzy still. Um, and I was trying to figure out, what all happened. And I did end up telling, I believe, his mom as well. She had come to help us. His family came to help us, which was real nice. We had some help because we had a newborn, a 1 year old, I think he was 7 at the time, and then my grandma who was not doing well, and me who was not doing well. So we did end up having some help, and it was very nice to have that. But yes, his mom was one who came, and I believe I told her some of what happened, but I, I told that I had an experience happen, but I wasn't really too full on open with it. I didn't tell my story right away. It's like I was also still processing it, but also like felt a little like what just happened, you know?
And so you had some weird things before this was diagnosed because you went undiagnosed for a while, right? You still had this problem. Do you want to
Yeah.
share some of those experiences, like maybe premonitions, or what did you have?
Yes, actually I did. So with my son right before this one, I got pregnant almost right away. I mean, it was a back-to-back pregnancy. And with my second son, I started receiving messages. So I was channeling. I was automatic writing and channeling these messages. And it was Archangel Michael was coming through a lot and Mother Mary and some other channelings, in which I don't know what it was. I ended up asking. They said that he kind of activated me. So as a child and as a teenager, when I had these visions, premonitions, kind of things come through, I could just stop. Like I would just say, I don't want this. And it would just kind of leave me alone. I mean, it was still there, but not as much. Well, when was pregnant with my second son, it's like there was an activation and I couldn't just shut it off. It's like I was just receiving these messages. So I still didn't know much about angels, even though Archangel Michael came through. I knew him as Saint Michael. I kind of didn't realize it was the same thing. Um, and so yes, I was receiving messages. So then when I was pregnant with my third, I went into a depression. I was really depressed. I didn't feel good. Something felt off physically, and I couldn't breastfeed my first son anymore, and that made me real depressed. Or second son, that made me depressed, and I was really going through a lot. So I mean, I was not receiving messages as much. I feel like there was a block there in a way, but the the few or some that I did, one of them was actually I was about 2 weeks past due when I had my son. So I want to say it was around the time of the due date that I got a message to eat dates. They said eat dates to keep the womb healthy. And I thought, that's strange. Okay, so I went and got some dates. I listened and I went and got some dates and I was eating them pretty consistently. And then when I looked back, after things, I looked in my journal and saw that I wrote that down and was writing that down. And I also had asked, is everything okay? Am I going to be okay? And they said, what will be, and everything is okay. But, gave me some guidance on what to do health wise, which was eat date, just pretty much trying to pull me out of the depression. Like, don't be afraid. Everything is okay. So, yeah, that was real interesting that I did get some guidance, and I didn't realize till afterward what exactly that meant. And I feel they were definitely guiding me and helping me in that way.
Huh. Very interesting. Isn't it strange? Like the worst moment in our life, the moment of our death, and we come back from that and it becomes the most important thing. I don't know if you feel that way, but obviously, I mean, you made a career out of this, kind of like I am, not really a career, but I'm doing a podcast because you feel you have to do something with this. Like it just can't be left lie.
Yeah, yeah, yes, exactly. Definitely. It's a life changing. I mean, literally life changing. After experiencing that, I felt I'm here for something. And I feel so honored and blessed to have gotten this chance to be here. I've got to do something with what I was given. And definitely. And I also feel like living life is so important, having fun, joy, like living, living is so important to me now. Like I feel exhilarated, I mean, I have my days, but for the most part, I just get these in my heart, these sensations like, and I just cry some days and I feel so grateful. And I just say, thank you so much that I get to be here. And it's totally changed my life.
Because you're like me, I died of ectopic pregnancy, and you died of this preeclampsia, postpartum preeclampsia. People die of these things, and not everybody gets to come back and get a second chance and raise their kids. There's kids out here that without their mothers, and it to me that's shocking every day that I got to come back. Like I'm sure with you, we didn't have to be here.
Mhm. Yeah, I agree. It's really humbling as well. It's very humbling to say, wow, I get to be here. And that's, you know, a lot of people don't know that feeling. A lot of people, there's so much stress in life. And then these negative feelings, like depression, anxiety, and these things in which, because it's hard to handle, and there's so much going on in the world and in life that it's a lot to handle at the same time, just that's where even I feel I'm to help spread that as well, that um, new way of thinking, or this different way of thinking, that life is precious. I mean, it really is a gift and it's precious, and to enjoy, like, I'm out here in nature, and even like what you have there, like a beautiful setup, like surrounding ourselves with the more positive things of love, beauty, appreciation, um, and and it's like a new perspective, I don't know, or a different perspective of actually enjoying what we have here and the time that we have here, and not taking it for granted.
Isn't it such a strange feeling to have been dead? To know you were dead and now you're back, and that knowing what that's like is like always like on your shoulder. At least it is for me. Like, is it going to happen today? Is it going to happen next month? Like, it's that close that you like. Some people say, "Oh, I can't imagine what it's like to be dead." But once you have been, and you're in a different universe, realm, whatever you may call it, and we're here, it's just like you know how quick it can happen because it did before. It happened so fast.
Yeah, yeah. And like I said, like right after mine happened, I had quite a few scares, and one where they said my blood pressure was going up, and they said there's nothing we can do. We already did the treatment. There's nothing we can do. And I thought, you just brought me back. I've been like back for maybe, I think it was a week maybe. And I thought, please don't take me now. Like before I was at peace, but now I'm not at peace. Now I'm not ready.
Right.
Um, and that kind of freaked me out. At Now at this point, I almost feel like I'm just in this place where I'm like, when it's my time, and I'm ready to go. But I'm gonna live it up until then.
And that we have no control. I mean, that's someone commits
Nope.
suicide. I mean, but we have no control. Like we get in the car in 5 minutes, plane could hit the house. I mean, I get electrocuted. I trip and fall down the stairs. I mean, it's just like it just really changes because I think before that happened, mine was 25 years old. I didn't really stop and think, oh, could I die tomorrow? Could I die any minute? But once you're faced with that, but I was like you when I come back from my tubal pregnancy. The next month I was pregnant again, and I was sure I was going to die this time. I wasn't going to get lucky again and get to come back. But it was 7 years before I had a miscarriage, but it was just like a normal miscarriage. But 7 years go by, I never got pregnant, and then of trying all the time. And then 7 years, as my ex and I were going through separation, we get pregnant. And he was so not happy. And I'm thinking, and I start having the signs of dual pregnancy. And then, so there again, I'm like, okay, am I going to die now? Is this going to take me this time? And yeah. And then, like you say, your blood pressure and in your health and it just, you don't take life for granted.
Yeah, exactly. I'm sorry to hear about your losses. We know they're little angels. Um, and yeah, and then there it happens, right? I mean, it's always in God's timing or divine timing. That's something I really learned about too. No control, divine timing. And what's meant to be will be.
Yeah. It's about a year ago or more. I was driving down the highway just a few miles from home, beautiful Saturday afternoon, and nobody in sight. And all of a sudden, I got this fear: I'm about to be in a car wreck. I'm about to be killed. And I'm thinking, there's nothing in sight. And I'm like, okay, I've learned from experience that these feelings know more than I do. Like your soul knows more than your brain. And so I thought, okay, I'm going to listen to this. This is some kind of warning because it knows more than I do. It can see in the future and I can't. So I started praying, God, I'm really scared and I don't know why. Just keep me safe. I no more said that prayer, and this black SUV with tinted windows pulls right in my lane. There's nobody to pass. There's nobody else on the highway but us, and coming darting straight towards me head on. And I'm like, I'm gonna die right now. Like it's beautiful Saturday. The sun is shining. What? Why is this thing coming right at me? It was barreling, and my hand on the steering wheel, just because I always taught myself never swerve for anything because people always get hurt worse. So I have mine, you just never swerve. And so it was burned right towards me. I didn't even have time to swerve. But something, it felt like it just took my hand and I thought, oh, we can swerve. I heard it like say, we can swerve. Like we can just swerve a little bit. Right there, just enough. And that thing went right past my side, and I'm bracing myself for the crunch. And it's going to sideswipe me, you know. I'm waiting for that crunch, and like maybe my arm would get broke or shoulder or something, you know, in this side swipe. Nothing, no hit, no sound, no screech of tires. I look in my rearview mirror, and it just went over right back in its own lane, just like nothing. And I'm like, was this person trying to kill me? Are they on a suicide mission? Were they on their cell phone? I don't know. But and it's just like, you know, then I think, here we go again. You know, that brings all this back from my NDEs of that close to death feeling where you were right there at the door. And it, you know, no NDE, of course, or anything like that with this, you know, but it leaves you with that feeling of life can just go like that. And
Yeah.
and so I like when I leave the house, I'm like, okay, is this how I would want to leave it? Like if I died and my kids come in here, like do I need to do my dishes? I just stupid things like you just never know.
Yeah. Yeah, I know that is funny. Wow, and that's a powerful story. I'm glad you shared it. Yes, that has happened. I mean, you're right. When I get that same guidance, just a feeling or a knowing, I just follow it. Uh, I just know, like you said, the soul knows more. They know more than I do. So I'm going with it, and I go with it in faith. I feel like that goes along with faith, you know? Um, really having the faith that we're taken care of. And despite any hardships or craziness that happens, like there's a reason behind it. Um, those blessings, but also following that guidance so that we are safe. And that's funny you said as well, like how you just know like any day you could be gone. So you gotta make sure the dishes are done, or like is that how you want to leave it? Yeah, I know. I think about that sometimes too.
Yeah. So, is there anything else you'd like to add or anything we didn't go over if you wanted to?
Oh, I don't think so. That's just my story, and I guess just a little bit of advice or guidance. Just so, not being afraid to live and experience and not take it for granted. Truly living like this could be the last day. This could be it. Oh, that too. Letting people know how you feel. I feel that's so important. I've noticed, just in my work, so many people wish that they would have, expressed their feelings, expressed what somebody meant to them. And, the love and care and in our hearts, that's our soul speaking. Our soul wants to shine and come out and speak way more than our mind. Our mind can just wander and take you through so many worry, stress, confusion, but the heart, the soul, that the love, that's love. That's the only expression it wants. And I feel that's something very important for people to allow through, let people know how you feel because you may be gone, they may be gone. We just never know. And I feel it's so important to share from the heart. Share your heart.
And like Tim McGraw said, be humble and kind. You froze on me. Good timing. Are you there? You froze.
Uh-oh.
I said, like Tim McGraw
I'm
said,
here
be
now.
humble and kind. So,
Yes.
well, thank you, Amber. And I'll put the stuff you sent me in your description for you.
Yes. Thank you for having me.
Bye bye.